welcome back to my channel. I have a new little friend with us. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Say hello, chubby bunny. Hello. Is that comfy? Can mommy have a sip of coffee? In my really amazing Disney cup. I'm such a Disney fan. Hi guys. Oh, we're already losing it. Oh, you're tired, It's hot here. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hello. It's a bit hot, isn't it? It is a little bit hot today. I have to have my fan on in the corner over there, so if you can hear a funny whirring sound, it's my fan. So I really apologize if the quality of the sound is not that great. Are you okay? I'm gonna have a sleepy. Do you want your dummy? Keep you bouncing. Let's see if she settles. I need to feel the way you're awake and looking so cute and chubby. So today's video, guys, is for you guys to meet little Olivia. Olivia. Oh, Olivia, you're not happy. You're not happy. Okay. I'm gonna sit this way and look at the pretty lights. I'm gonna sit this way. You see all the pretty lights? Oh. Okay. So today's video is for you to meet little Olivia, who hopefully she settles down, and I'll turn her around the other way so you guys can get a good look at her. Little Olivia here was born on the 15th of November at 12:30 p.m. by an elective Caesar. She was born at 3.5 kilograms and was 50 centimeters long, and she is perfect. The main reason of what I wanted to film in today's video is basically a little, what do you call them? I did one with Felix. It's the labor and delivery stories, although I had a planned C-section because with my first Felix, who's now 2 years old, we just celebrated his second birthday a week ago. Yeah, like a week or 2 weeks ago now. I had an emergency C-section with him, so we went this scheduled C-section route with little Olivia. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, what my experience was like having a planned C-section versus a emergency C-section, and just generally how our day went. So our day started out with us needing to be at the hospital at 10 a.m. and we did get there at 10. However, getting to the hospital was very emotional. I'd never left Felix before, neither had my husband for like, no, he had actually for like working and things like that. He'd been away overnight, but I've never done that. I've never been away from Felix for more than like an hour or two at most. So this was going to be a huge learning curve for all of us. So we got to the hospital at 10, we checked in, we were escorted up to our private room, and what else happened? And then basically that was at 10 o'clock, signed in. What did we do? Yeah, signed in. They asked me to have an antibacterial shower, which I didn't do with my first. Obviously, emergency, you can't do all of that. So that was a new experience. And then basically we just sat around waiting, really, until 11. So for about an hour, I had a shower and all that. And then at 11, the anesthesiologist came up to our room to have sort of a bit of a consultation, let us know what was going on, asked if we had any questions. She was fantastic. I'm really lucky that I had her because she was just very calming, very informative. It's kind of what you want before you go in and have this really scary surgery where you have to be awake. That's just terrifying. But you get through it and it's fine and it's no big deal. So basically, this time round I had a spinal block, so different to an epidural. It's done the same way, so you get local anesthetic shot beforehand before they give you the needle into the spinal area. I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but they give you local anesthetic so you don't feel the needle going directly in between the two vertebrae of your spine where they inject the fluid. With an epidural, they leave the little, like a little, what do you call it, tube? Really tiny thin tube in your back the whole time. Oh, she's falling asleep. But with a spinal, it's just a further injection. There's nothing actually left in your spine, and it doesn't last as long. So with the epidural or with my first, I still had trouble feeling my legs until really early hours of the morning. So maybe 3 or 4 in the morning, I still couldn't move my legs. Whereas I had the epidural was given to me at like 1 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock. Yeah, maybe 2 o'clock. And so it was like a really long time. I also had morphine and all of that whilst they were in surgery, so I couldn't feel a thing. With this one, it lasted maybe about 5 hours before I started to be able to move my legs and all of that. So it was a very different experience with the spinal itself. I would say I did prefer the spinal block to the epidural for how it made me feel like it wasn't as long lasting. Yeah, I think that was the main perk, and I think it worked a little bit better than the spinal did, the epidural did, because with my son, I felt them cutting into me, and I needed all this other medication and top-ups to let me not feel it, but I didn't have that problem with the spinal, so it might not be the epidural thing. It just could have been how I was sitting when she was putting it in. It might have just worked better. Anyway, so she did all of that. She explained how it was going to go, what to expect. You know, with the spinal, she said that while she was in theatre, you can, you know, feel quite nauseous or feel very faint. And those are the 2 things that I definitely felt. I felt like I was going to be very sick, and I felt like I was going to pass out, like completely black out. I couldn't get my words out. I couldn't do any of those sort of things. I felt very funny in like my head, just not all there. But she gives you other medication to sort of combat those symptoms, and it definitely works. After like a minute or 2, you feel fine. But I would say when she was giving me that stuff, I had heart palpitations. Like my heart was beating, and like not beating, thumping in my chest. Like yeah, I've never experienced that before, so I didn't know what was going on. It was quite scary, but it was totally fine. There was no dramas. So yeah, once she explained all of that, what to expect, she chatted with us for maybe like 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and then she was going to head down to theatre, and we were going to meet her there, because they came and got me at like 11:30, 11:45, something like that. And then whisked us down, did the spinal, had the cannula put in, all of that sort of stuff, which didn't take long at all. Could have been a total of like 15 minutes of waiting. Went totally numb, like pretty much instantly. I just felt my legs just get extremely heavy, and then they sort of started, and it was really quick, like really quick experience. So the difference with this, what do you call it, C-section to an emergency, so scheduled versus emergency, was the different type of medication they give you, so spinal versus epidural. The other thing that I experienced was the procedure itself. So with my son, because it was emergency, he was out within like 2 minutes, I would say. Like it was very quick once they cut in, and he was like straight, like, yeah, 2 minutes, maybe even like 3 minutes, we'll see. But it was a matter of minutes. With this one, it was very different. So they were able to take their time. We were chatting with all the nurses. It was a very different atmosphere. It's very casual, very laid back. It was all women in the theatre apart from my partner. So the atmosphere was just very light-hearted and comforting and reassuring. And when I had my emergency, I just totally blanked out everyone that was in that room. I was just focusing on what was going on with my body. I was so worried about Felix. Just nothing else really mattered in that moment. I didn't even know how many people were in the theatre when I had my son. With Olivia, I was very aware. We were laughing, we were joking. It was just a great atmosphere. I'd do it again. It was great. The other thing, so Alessia's was actually a very difficult delivery. even though it was a Caesar, they couldn't get her out. Like, she was just stuck. Like, she was in a really crappy position. She was exactly the same to how my son was. So our backs were, like, my son was in the wrong way. So we had our backs together, and that's extremely painful if you're going through labor. I didn't experience labor this time, but she was in exactly the same position, and she was all bundled up in there, and they really couldn't get her out. It actually took them half an hour from the moment they cut my tummy to actually getting her out. Was half an hour. She was that stuck. They even used forceps. They were pressing down on my chest and stomach so hard that I actually thought my ribs were breaking. It was unpleasant at that stage when they were really trying to get her out. When you have an emergency C-section, they will definitely, or any C-section, they will always be pushing and tugging when they're about to pull the baby out or pulling the baby out. But this time it was for a really extended amount of time. There was that much pressure on my ribs that I was convinced it was breaking. But that's just my experience. That was how it went. When they got her out, this is where things went a little bit crazier. So it was already crazy. It took half an hour, but then it got crazier. She didn't come out crying. And I was like, what? Like, that's exactly what happened with Felix. Like, he cried, like, instantly. The moment they put him out, he was alert. He was crying. Everything was fine. They weren't worried about him. But with Alessia, she didn't make a sound. And I was like, okay, she's not crying. And I started to get a bit worried. Let's turn you around. I was like, why is she not crying? What is going on here, baby girl? And then we were going to have a look at you. What is going on? Why is she not crying? I was asking my partner. I'm like, no one was really answering me. And then they said, she's okay. She's just in a bit of shock. They, I guess, whisked her around to, oh no, what happened? I said to Ollie, go check on her, like, what's going on? And as he got up, they said to him, please stay behind the curtain. And that's when I was like, there's something wrong. What's happened? She's still crying. Then they said, she's not breathing. We're going to give her some oxygen. When she had some oxygen, she perked right up. She started crying. But I don't know, it felt like a really long time. It was a couple of minutes of her not breathing. But she was fine. She didn't need to go to the NICU unit or anything like that. She was checked out, and they were really happy with her. She became really responsive. Her color went from like blue to, you know, normal pinky as soon as they gave her oxygen. So there was no problem. But that time between them pulling her out and saying she's here to her actually crying and breathing felt like, I don't know, a lifetime. It really did feel long, but it was just a matter of minutes. It could have even been seconds, but no, it was minutes, and it was a really long time. I've never been so scared in my life, other than when we were told we needed an emergency C-section because Felix was in distress, and this was scarier. This was scary, if not scarier, because it's like you get to this moment and she should be breathing, you know what should be going on, and it just didn't go to plan. But she was fine. I definitely got to have my skin on skin straight away. It was great. It was amazing because I didn't have that with Felix because it was emergency, and on the weekend the hospital that I go to don't let you do skin to skin straight away. Like, you actually have to stay in recovery whilst you're getting stitched up, and the baby goes with dad to get checked out in the nursery and get their Hep B shot, or no, Hep B, not Hep B, oh no, they get that later. What do they get? Vitamin K. So they give the vitamin K straight away. That's what we choose to do. But this time round, I actually got to keep her with me the whole time, and that was lovely because I really felt like I missed out on that with Felix, but I got over it. So this time, while they were stitching me up, it did actually take an hour to put me back together. So half an hour to get her out, an hour to stitch me up. I was a mess. So it was 90 minutes all up, which is really long compared to Felix's. I don't know if that's like normal for other people, but it was 90 minutes from start to finish. And then I got to keep her with me the whole time. When I went to recovery, we had a nurse that stayed with us the whole time. I got to keep her with me again, and we breastfed, and she breastfed like a champ. It was amazing. Like, she just latched on straight away. She was exactly the same to Felix. I've never had a problem with breastfeeding my babies. It just goes smoothly. I really enjoy it. Yeah, and it was just lovely. We hung out there for like an hour, and nurses were chatting to us. Everyone was talking to us about our experience, and we just chatted about anything, really. It was such a different experience to Felix because I didn't actually do that with him. So I enjoyed it this time much more. And I was still, I would say, in shock at this point while we were in recovery, because I was just like, you know, she wasn't breathing, like anything could go wrong. And that moment was just like, you know, playing over and over in the back of my mind whilst being in that new baby days where you're just like, I just had a baby. It's crazy. And yeah, it was a very good experience. After an hour of hanging there, they took us up to our room and we just hung out. Just me, baby Alessia, and Daddy. And yeah, we chilled. We ordered some room service. What else did we do? Just enjoyed the experience. Although my husband was like very antsy, I would say, to get back to Felix, because none of us had been away from him really, and we wanted to make sure that he was okay. So Ollie left after a couple of hours to go back home to Felix, and that was really hard for me because I was really missing him at this point, but you're also enjoying like your newborn baby cuddles. Like, you kind of feel a little bit torn. Well, I did anyway. Yes, baby girl. Ooh, maybe our lighting is changing. I think it's going to rain. So if my lighting is not very good, again, I apologize. Was in a little bit of pain after maybe 2 hours, I would say, and they, you know, gave me some medication to help with that. But I got extremely hot. I was sweating. I was feeling extremely nauseous. I just was feeling really terrible. So I think it was my body just slowly like getting rid of whatever the medication is that they give you for the spinal block. I just really wasn't feeling good. So I needed some anti-nausea medication. They cranked the air conditioning up so it was freezing in my room, but it made no difference to me. I was still profusely sweating. It was just terrible. I felt horrible at this point, and all I wanted to do was just have a really cold shower, but you can't move, so I had to wait till the next morning. But that's what I wanted. I just wanted to jump into something that was so icy cold and refreshing. Yeah, it just didn't feel good. But that was the only point that I would say I was really not feeling good. But yeah, it was totally fine. We did stay in with Alessia for a total of 6 days. And it was great. It's a really top hospital. I can't recommend it enough. I don't know whether I should say where I went, but it is a private hospital. It's amazing. You order room service whenever you like. You're treated like just amazing. Like, you know, they offer all these classes you should go to, like bathing classes, physio classes to check your abdominal separation. I actually had abdominal separation this time. That's something different that I didn't have with Felix. I actually had 3 centimeters of abdominal separation. At 8 weeks now, I've completely corrected that, so that was good. With Felix, I didn't have any, so that was a new experience for me, but she was a much bigger baby. Little Alessia here was born on the 15th of November at 12:30 p.m. via an elective Caesar. She was born at 3.5 kilograms and was 50 centimeters long, and she is perfect. She is just the perfect fit to our family, and Felix absolutely adores her. And I couldn't be happier. I really couldn't be happier. Yeah. There you are, little Alessia. So that's really it for my for my labour and delivery story. It was very quick, it was great, it was scary. That's it. Perfect. We just moved on and there she is. If you do have any questions or would like to know a little bit more in detail, because my brain still feels in a blur, definitely ask your questions below and I will answer them in another video. I'm more than happy to do that. And yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.